Hello, everyone. Ted Roller here, Chief Revenue Officer for Cloud Radio. Glad to have you all on board today. I'm joined today by Jeff Farris and Ricky. And say hi, guys. Introduce yourselves real quick.
Hey, I'm Jeff.
Hi, I'm Ricky, VP of Product at Cloud Radio.
Awesome. Cool. All right, let's dig right into this. We have a lot to cover today, and we are going to dig into quite a bit. But let me start by just introducing Cloud Radio a little bit. For those of you who are not overly familiar with Cloud Radio, we are the engagement maturity level tool that allows you to drive customer satisfaction in whole new and different ways than you ever had before. We allow you to drive self-service for your customers. And right now we have on screen a little bit what the front page of Cloud Radio looks like to most MSP customers. Report a problem, request service, ticket updates, all that other stuff. We're going to talk about the strategies and philosophies behind engaging with your customers and making your engagement and their engagement with you more effective, more supportive, and more really exciting and mature as an organization. So moving on, let's dig into a little bit of this. We drive a lot of self-service features. We give you the ability to allow your customers to take care of some of those, I want to call them redundant tasks or opportunities for, oh, I have to do this again at the MSP level. And if any of you guys have experienced that, where the technicians on your team or yourself or whoever's doing that work is doing work that they've done again and again and a million times, and it's something that your customer could do anyway on their own, but also aligning really the experience of your technicians so that when they're taking care of any individual, they are taking care of them all in sort of the same way. So self-service reporting is a perfect example. We give you the ability to drive reporting out in front of your customers where they can see what's going on, from the QBR to a host of different reports. They don't have to call you and say, how many of this did we do? Or how many of that did we do? They have the opportunity to just go click on an icon, find the answer, and move forward without having to wait for you, which is truly an advantage to their happiness with your relationship with them. Self-service ticketing is probably as advantageous for them as it is for you. I need help, so I'm going to wait on hold is something nobody wants to do anymore. And quite frankly, nobody on your side needs to spend time doing it either. I ask a lot of MSPs when I'm at an event, and I'm there pretty much every week, what does your ticket flow look like? And many times the answer is, I get a text, or we get an email, or somebody raises their hand, or somebody shows up at the office. It's all over the place. And when you can drive a consistent ticketing behavior and get all the information you need from your customers, and they can offer all the information that they have when they are ready to submit the ticket, life gets easier. Self-service QBRs, I just talked about that a little bit, but QBRs are really the report card for the activity of the MSP, and there is no reason that a QBR requires a meeting. What it requires is the ability for your customers to get information about how you're taking care of them whenever they need that information. It's not always a conversation. It can be, but it isn't always conversation. And the portal is obviously right there for you. So I think it's time to dig in. I hope you guys all have an understanding about what Cloud Radio is and what we do. We really give you the ability to more effectively manage the relationship with your customers, communicate with them, and so on and so forth. But we're going to talk about a lot of the strategy behind it today. And I'm going to lean on Jeff to help us have that conversation. But we're going to touch on automation and how automation drives self-service. We're going to touch on education and how driving an education platform can create additional revenue for your customers and make things a whole lot better. We're going to talk about orchestration, which I would define as when you're using more than one platform to take care of your customers. And let's face it, that's what every MSP is doing every day. How you manage that orchestration to drive self-service opportunities. I think Ricky is going to show us a little bit about what you can do there. And it's going to be, honestly, it's going to be pretty exciting. and then we'll dig into the new feature demo, which is what I'm talking about. So moving on, let's dig into automation a little bit. And Jeff, where do you want to start the conversation? How do you want to dig into this?
So yeah, automation's a broad topic, and IT automation especially. And I think most everybody that's on this webinar understands the concept of automation, at least as it applies to their techs and it applies to their existing stack. I haven't really run across an MSP yet that doesn't at least use email automation to send reports out, or doesn't use some RMM automation to basically monitor workstations, right? The whole concept of automation is basically just digitizing work to drive a consistent and reliable outcome, right? So automation's the foundation of the MSP industry.
So I think many MSPs are new to automation, but the IBMs of the world and the bigger enterprise organizations have been driving automation as part of their value proposition for a long time. And I think there's a lot to learn there. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because
We didn't, none of this is structured, guys. We're not,
no. So yeah, this is completely winging it here. But in an IBM study, and I think this is what's fascinating when you look at automation, because the whole concept of AI has triggered a renewed interest in conversation around automation, because AI, in a sense, represents maybe the ultimate automation, right? In the sense of it's going to write a blog post for you. That's the ultimate automation, right? And so as you look at AI, but AI is part of a continuum of techniques to automate and solve problems. And industry automation is not, new to Fortune 500. It's not new to the Fortune 5,000. It's probably not even new to the Fortune 50,000, right? As every business has become much more of a digital business. IBM put together a survey a few years ago, but basically talking about automation, and the results were pretty fascinating, because again, these are the probably the Fortune 5,000 they're talking to. But again, if we watch things going on in this space, the Fortune 50,000 are basically starting to have access to the tools and techniques that only the Fortune 500 had access to, right, a few years ago. And at the bottom line, there's three things that really struck me in this report. And one is that, again, everybody that's embracing automation expects that to be a driver of growth of their business, right? So you're doing automation not to necessarily just eliminate tasks, but even though that is the money savings aspect of automation is quite beneficial, it's really the growth aspect of automation, when done right, that really drives outcomes for businesses. And as they look at this, I mean, again, they're expecting this, and my guess is they're achieving this. When they invest in the automation, they grow. The other piece that's fascinating is they're using this to drive the customer experience, right? You look at the automation of even food ordering now, the Uber Eats and all of that. I mean, the ability to just order online and have it show up at your doorstep, or this automation of not having to go to the restaurant or not having to pick. I mean, it just makes it so much simpler, and it's driving the customer experience. It's driving the customer engagement, and people are expecting this in every facet. And so again, automation is key there. And the last piece that was fascinating to me was the idea that automation is basically eliminating the drudgery work of corporations, right? And I think we can all see the benefits in MSP automation just at the tech staff, as to how much better life is when you don't have to manually scan backup reports every day to find the one that's a problem.
Absolutely. I was mentioning that I'm at events all the time, and when there was obviously a little prep for this webinar, but when we were looking at these numbers, the 90% number was the one that I'm having a conversation with every week about. Unhappy technicians it's just not a happy place for anybody. Management doesn't like it. Sales doesn't like it. Nobody likes it when the technicians are like, oh, I'm doing this again. They want to focus on the high level tasks. They want to solve the big problems. They want to dig in. They're, digital explorers in many ways. And the drudgery is just the drudgery. Jeff, was there anything about this? Were there any hidden hidden gems in here that you thought really we should shine a light on?
I think we take it to the next level, because again, what this is really driving, especially in the MSP space, is that MSPs in large measure are not taking full advantage of automation, right? At least according to every other business that's out there. And one of the things that put together here was just kind of like a rule of thumb, right? I mean, if you take automation and you apply it to your tech staff, that's acceleration, right? That's getting rid of some of the monotony. And it goes back to one of the key things, which is turning labor into intellectual property, right? And when intellectual property is scalable, whereas labor is not. And so anytime you can automate your tech staff, you get a huge win, right? But anytime you can automate your end users, now you have a superpower, right? Now, when you can automate your end users, basically delivering full self-service where they can take care of their own request, now all of a sudden, it's not the ability, you have unlimited scalability at that point, right? Because you don't have somebody in the middle dealing with these issues. And again, we look at the promises of AI right now, and we've gone from seemingly to not automating the end users, right, to not having self-service. And now everybody's jumped mentally to going like, well, we don't even need text because we're just going to have full AI driven tech responses, right? And the reality is that we're not anywhere near the full AI automated responses, but we are way up the chart now with automations and end users. And again, when we can deliver like with things like Cloud Radio, full self-service to users, now all of a sudden things get done without tech intervention. And to the users, I think one of the things that fascinates me about automation when it's done right is it's imperceptible to the users themselves, right? They really don't know whether somebody typed a response or whether they got a response, or when they asked software to be installed, if it just got installed automatically, or if somebody actually had to install it and write them back, right? I mean, that's the beauty of automation, right? Is when it's done right, it's imperceptible from an actual user doing that, right?
Yeah. Jeff, let me throw you a curveball here, because it seems to me, and I've thought a lot about this, it seems like automation done right is a superpower, but if you try and automate things that aren't easy or appropriate to automate, then you may end up with a lot of junk and confused processes and all that other stuff. How do you do the thinking around what I should automate and what I shouldn't? What are some of the guideposts associated with automation? And Ricky, feel free to jump in here because I know you work in this space a lot, but what should people be looking out for and protecting against?
Yeah, I mean, I think just because it can be automated doesn't mean it should be automated, right? I mean, I think we've all kind of seen that. I mean, I was working with an MSP years ago, and all of a sudden you realized you could, send lab tech reports, now ConnectWise Automate reports out to the end users automatically, every week or every month with email. And it seemed like a really neat thing to automate until 100 users starting getting these odd emails with data that they didn't understand, they weren't asking for, and were thoroughly confused by, right? And so just because you can automate a process doesn't mean it should be done. And Ted, I mean, if you want to comment too, just because if you've got a bad process and you automate it, all you're doing is automating a bad process, right? And you're repeating that bad process many more times than you would be if it were done incorrectly. And I kind of look at, this funny, I kind of look at the QBRs as kind of this way, because we see a lot of it out there about QBRs and about automating QBRs, and we all have little different vendors in this space have different views of automating the QBR. But basically, when you automate the dumping of technical data on users on a regular basis, you're not really automating anything worthwhile, right? Again, the users don't, I mean, again, if they're not listening to the QBRs, if they're not tuning into that, getting that QBR prepared faster isn't helping the process, right? So yeah. Just because you can automate it doesn't mean that it should be automated. And I think one of the things that, again, with automation, especially when it comes to end users, the capabilities far outweigh the value to the end users of an automated experience, right? Or an automated report.
So my takeaway from that is find out what your customers want and need and desire in an automated fashion and work to automate towards those solutions so that everybody wins. Don't create automation that has an output that confuses your customers. I mean, right? That should be rule number one. All customer comes first.
Should be rule number one. And rule number two should be ultimately automation should be about saving your clients time, right? I mean, the whole value proposition of Cloud Radial to a large extent is being able to resolve tickets faster, right? And if you can resolve tickets without human intervention, that's really fast, right? And so if you can save clients time, it's like why we appreciate ordering from Amazon and why we don't call Amazon to place an order, right? If we called Amazon to place the order, we know it would take us a lot more time to order, right? But again, it's all automated, it's easy, it's online, it's simple. And so saving that time, and again, from the end users, it's not really dumping more stuff on the users. It's basically automating their ability to conserve time, which is what every technician, every service staff, every account manager, every MSP owner is looking for, is the ability to save time. But every end user you support is looking to save time, even in their interactions with you, right? They may love you, they may appreciate everything you do for them, but they still have a job to do that isn't you, right? And so if they've got time saved through interacting with you less, in the sense they can find information when they want, they can get responses when they want, they can fire off requests and check statuses when they want. That's saving them time. And that's the value proposition that's something that's a full self-service portal brings to your clients.
So Ricky has been waiting with his mute button turned off for quite a while and has done it very quietly. I'm pretty amazed. Ricky, enlighten us. Bring your opinion to the table.
I'll bring my first person opinion that I think Jeff hit on, but I think it's important to state because it's easy for all of us to get overzealous. And like my internal buzz phrase is that really it's automation is not equivalent or a direct correlation to innovation, right? So it's like just because you do something cool or you automate something doesn't mean it makes it cool. So yes, I think the thing we've talked about for a long time, and again, I'm going to take more of the technical angle on this when we talk about the feature that we developed to speak to this, is just being able to critically think and rethink processes. QBR is a great example. We talk about it all the time, where it's like kind of like a horse and buggy race, and automation would be like adding more horses to the buggy when that's not really what we need, right? Sometimes you need to think about automation as a driver to get you to the car. So I want to think about that and keep that as a central theme, that again, it's like has to be paired with this concept of innovation. And then if you can do that, which is kind of what we're talking about when we talk about end users, that's more innovation. Automation for automation's sake is not great. Sometimes it actually loses your focus on fixing problems because you no longer see them anymore. That's all.
That's great input. Absolutely great input. All right. So to keep us on time and on stage, we're going to pivot to education right now. Education is a little bit of a different topic. Automation is all about the most effective way to positively impact your technology deliverables when it comes to MSPs. Education is about two things. One, it's scaling out the potential services and value that you bring to your customers, especially when you make it a self-service deliverable. And two, education is about eliminating, in many cases, the weakest link in every security situation. So let's move on next slide. And we offered the opportunity for MSPs to offer the opportunity to their customers to do self-service training. And we've done a lot of really cool work here. We don't just bring it ourselves. We bring bigger brains and clip training to the table. And they have graciously, because they see this as really important and a great opportunity, they've graciously volunteered a lot of their valuable material to allow you to get your customers up and running with self-service training around cybersecurity awareness, with self-service training around productivity, Microsoft tools, et cetera, and so on. And the list just keeps getting longer because there's a bunch of value there. But both of them have vast libraries of education that you can tap into and sell to your customers. One of the things we preach at Cloud Radial is you're not just managing endpoints. You are also, if you are doing it correctly, and if you want to have long-term value, managing the people. And finally, you're managing the outcomes. We're not going to spend much time on outcomes today, but one of the outcomes that comes out of managing the people is better people. And I promise you, if you can point over the course of a quarter or a year or a lifetime to the improvement of your customer's business as a result of making their people more effective, more productive, and more secure, then you become indispensable to your customers. We live this because we see it as a great opportunity. One of the things, Jeff, talk about how you can monetize and create a lot more money out of education just by adding it as part of the stack.
Well, there's several ways to monetize it. And again, one of the ways is to charge the users for it, charge them directly. But the one that seems to work better sometimes is charging indirectly, right? Everybody's in a process right now of adjusting with changes in inflation and changes, in cost structures. And they're, again, we see a lot of MSPs raising seat price, but not changing the deliverable, right? And I think at the end of the day, raising the seat price without changing the deliverable seems a little more painful, right? When you buy the gallon of milk and the gallon of milk costs $1 more today than it did yesterday, but it's still a gallon of milk, that's kind of painful, right? But MSPs don't have to do that. And so training is a great way to basically deliver more value with minimal cost. I mean, your seat price may go up $50 or $100 per endpoint, so you deliver a few dollars worth of training on top of that. And all of a sudden you've sort of, again, changed it's not apples to apples anymore. It's now you've got new services. And so I see the training as ability to differentiate as a way to basically differentiate your service from the service you offered yesterday at a lower price, right? And that's huge by itself. We see a lot of MSPs actually charging extra for the training. But the other thing that I think the monetization opportunity is also in the way that every MSP delivers projects. Because one of the things that's probably one of the hidden gems in Cloud Radial is the built-in learning management system. So you don't have to use Bigger Brains or Clip Training to deliver a course. You can write your own courses. And if you can write a knowledge-based article and construct a quiz, you're in the course writing business. And what I really like about that is when you deliver a project as an MSP, you deliver a course on top of that. Because we talk about automations, and automations are there for the end users too, right? I mean, you're not only busy automating your own business, hopefully you're in there helping them automate their business as well, because they certainly are trying to automate their business. And so when you deliver these projects, if you deliver a quick, maybe a 3-slide training program along with that project, now all of a sudden you're starting to train your end users on their line of business needs in a way that is directly relevant to their people, something they appreciate, and lets you really monetize and deliver basically a lot of perceived value for a routine project, right?
That's awesome. One thing I'll add to that is that we have a team, 2 teams really, the channel team and then the account management team, whose job it is to teach you how to create monetization and satisfaction opportunities with your customers. So they'll teach you how the LMS works. They'll teach you how to present it to your customers, how to present the additional service that Jeff is kind of referring to of not only here's how this project worked, but many of your customers are looking for ways to communicate and make sure they communicated the value that they're delivering. So the LMS system gives them and you the opportunity to just add a fully additional service. We'll teach you how to do all that. We will walk you through every step of it and get you up to speed with it. Ricky, you got anything to add here?
I do. I wanted to throw in a question that Kent had actually in the Q&A, and he may actually be giving us a cool way to transition to the next section, because he's asking if it's possible to throw in IT clue documents or links to things inside of the training section of Cloud Radial. And without spoiling it too much, I think that's a really good question, because other vendors are not bad words, right? When we're going to talk about automations, the thing to think about is pulling that together in pretty much every direction. And the short answer is yes. You can include those. Probably the best way to do that would be links. You can build that in. You can throw those in pretty easily. We have like you can either do it via HTML if you're savvy like that, or there's literally just like drop a link to a link. But that concept of being able to interweave all of these different things into a single experience is super important. And again, to your point, automating that so you're managing less things and propagating those out more is important for you for scalability too. And again, I think that once you see a little bit of what I got, and then once Jeff talks about this next bit, tease us up, it'll make more sense, but for sure you can.
Cool. Well, that's a great transition into the orchestration piece. So I talked about it at the beginning. Orchestration is really tying a bunch of tools together. And when you think about that, you think about automation, you think about education, you think about a lot of different things, but orchestration connected with self-service, again, equals that superpower piece. When you are adding your customers' desires and abilities as a force multiplier, you are changing the game. You are putting a bigger team and a more satisfied and happy and constructive team in place to most effectively impact outcomes. Orchestration is key to all of that. And we don't use the word orchestration in, at least in my experience, in the channel nearly enough. It is going to be the future buzzword. And we can all start talking about orchestration now because our integration strategies and efforts are really about trying to manage orchestration. It just spent a lot of time understanding how orchestration can be leveraged in order to create opportunity. Jeff, you want to weigh in here? Love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, we only got 30 minutes left, so it's going to be hard. But if you think about orchestration, again, an MSP, there are silos of expertise out there, whether it be security or collaboration or planning or whatever it is. There's RMMs. There's all these silos of expertise that are so complicated in and of themselves. It's hard to stitch all of those into a single product, right? And so Gartner basically calls this the collaborative environment, right? They basically talk about the idea of all businesses will be stitched together in some form or fashion, right? So again, we're not talking about a world that is going to basically where one company rules it all. Companies have to work collaboratively together. And one of the ways that happens is through APIs. And one of the things we did years ago to enhance automation was add JSON webhooks to our product, right? And so a service catalog item, you could add a JSON webhook to it, and that could trigger a Power Automate script. It could trigger a Azure function. It could basically trigger a lot of different things. And I have been blown away at the innovation our partners have shown in taking that little feature and turning that into huge time savings. And so as we watched how the product was being used and we saw the power of that simple automation, that led into a lot of internal discussions about what that looks like in kind of a bigger and broader context. And so we're going down two paths. One we're not showing today, which is basically a more open platform to drive more integrations and the ability to work with more vendors. I mean, we're already working with 50, 60, 70 different vendors today. Even people that think they're our competitors, typically we've got our partners using us together in some form or fashion. Because again, we're the platform. We're the platform that brings that all together and creates that self-service, that direct user experience. And when you tie all of that openness with orchestration on the back end, that's when things get really, really interesting. And so now, hopefully, Ricky, if you want, we can showcase some really exciting stuff.
Yeah, before we do that, we got to do a little bit of background here. So here at Cloud Radio, we are really, 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 really into code names for our projects. And so, Ricky, you're about to show something that like literally nobody is. You guys are here. This is the first time we've showed this in public. I mean, I didn't see it till maybe 3 weeks ago. So this is really cutting edge. But we put a really cool code name on this project, Ricky. Why don't you share that?
Orders and solutions. It's not great.
Today we've upgraded that name to automations, and what Ricky
Hey.
is, it's much better. It may still need to have a little guy or something, but listen, this is going to be hugely impactful, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let Ricky do the whole thing, but I had to get orders and solutions into this webinar somehow so that you guys would know that we actually spend time on actually naming things. So Ricky, take it away.
It's true. Yes. Jeff, if you could blow minds and open hearts. Hey, there's that. So I'm assuming that probably a lot of people that are watching this have heard, maybe tried, and actually probably use Cloud Radial to some degree. So this screenshot right here may not seem like much at the beginning. If you've not, I want to give this a quick context. So like we talked about, everything we've said so far is pretty much true of the industry of everything, right? Automations being pretty key, end user stuff. That's a general thing. Now, what we can do and what we have been doing is, again, starting with the first version of that. So, okay, we're talking about end user stuff or clients. How do you begin to put that forward for them? Well, first things first is you're going to try to offer them, again, like whether it's Amazon's a great example, some sort of catalog for things, right? Now, the most tangible, easy way to understand it, tickets. Okay, so tickets are not the Wild West. Actually, chances are you can probably organize them into categories, some incident stuff, maybe some problem stuff, and even orders, right? So when we're talking about orders, we're saying like, what about like getting a laptop or getting a keyboard, or what about like onboarding, offboarding? Now, it's not super novel. Again, you can do that in about a billion different ways. What makes our platform one of the ones that's really effective is that because we already have pre-built stuff, because it's hooked up to your PSA systems, it's getting some automation in there right now, right? This is way before this call ever started. So by doing that, what's happening is you fill out the details, or the customer does, they pick their action, and then boom, off goes that stuff to your PSA nice and neat, right? We know what board or queue or to who with what webhook. And that's awesome because it sets the path forward for you to do less work. But what doesn't happen is those actions are getting completed, right? And when those actions are getting completed, even though we're getting you 90% of the way there, there's still some stuff to do. That's probably a path that we're always going to try to work on. But what's really special about what you're looking at on screen right now is an example of when you click on a thing, right? In this case, we're using the service catalog for tickets. That is a field that is actually showing you that the client is triggering an opportunity creation. They're triggering the pricing being put back in front of them. And then what's going to happen is when they hit submit on that, as we'll see in a second, I'll go through a couple different screenshots of how this is set up. This is going through and doing the things that you probably have people doing all the time. And again, like kind of like what Ted and Jeff both were saying at the beginning, this is going to eliminate like literally 99% of those mundane tasks that you're dreading doing that you don't need to be doing. So let's take a look at the next one and I'll give a little bit more context. So that was the end user view. And like we said at the beginning, they shouldn't even know they're doing that. When you buy something on Amazon, you don't care, and you're definitely not interested in seeing the 5 billion different things that are happening. You just want your thingamajig delivered to your door tomorrow. That's it. Same deal, right? That doesn't look much different than what you can do in Cloud Radial. This screenshot shows what you can do as the MSP. And this is the super crazy exciting part because yes, we're going to have a new tab for automations. In this automation tab, you're basically going to be able to describe how you want to invoke said automation. So do you want to make an opportunity in your PSA, get that quote going? Do you want to trigger maybe even an RMM download of something? Do you want to send an email? Do you want to trigger a webhook? By defining that flow, you're literally you're able to tell Cloud Radial exactly what you want to do, and then put that in front of the customer and have them trigger it on their own control, on their own demand, and have it actually go and do action. So this thing is showing you that, again, our theoretical thing that we've been playing with that is a really common use case is like, for example, ordering a laptop, right? Takes a lot of steps, it takes a lot of work, but what if they could go to a form, click it, and it does all those things? Well, to do that, we're saying, hey, go build yourself one of these automations, go in there, add yourself an opportunity for that laptop, go pick the product list from the PSA, cool, tie that in, send so-and-so an email saying that they've just ordered a laptop, CC their boss, and go ahead, go do that. Maybe send a webhook to some other system, set up their access. By giving you kind of a sandbox approach to this and letting you bundle these together, you can pre-build that and deploy that scalably throughout the organization. So it's really pretty awesome for a real use case. Let's take a look at, like, again, a little bit more detailed one. Can you go to the next one, Jeff? So opportunity creation is something that people have come up with and requested a long time, really everywhere. And why this is super crazy exciting is because, again, that's one of those tasks that should be pretty easy theoretically, but in reality, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts and how it all works. But again, I feel like we've cracked a really good code workflow wise that this works really seamlessly, where not only can we do that, you can make it so even the fields and the ticket forms are English. So this whole concept of automations isn't exactly new. People have been doing it for a very long time. What is new is we're making it drag and drop. So people like me that don't speak a lick of code, I can barely open an HTML box, can set up some stuff to save an MSP time. So I look like a wizard consultant, even though I know nothing. And that's what this is. This is something that is going to be end user friendly and end user deployable, completely triggered by it to get you that superpower approach to everything. Here's another example. When you go to the next one for me, Jeff. Email, right? Email is another one that seems like a trivial thing, but it's not, right? So who's it from? Where's it going to? What's the body of it, right? When you're triggering something like a laptop order, who needs to be notified? What do you need to tell them? How does that all get deployed? In what order does that go? What if it's dynamic? What if it needs to go to the manager at each individual business and you've got 40 businesses to manage? And there's all these little nuanced questions that seem cool, but when you get down into it, it's very difficult to do. But again, leveraging Cloud Radial as this automation platform, as this orchestration platform, we're able to use variables. We're able to use just straight up, you tell me, type it in, right? And by doing that, again, it's almost like this, I'm not going to say fail-proof because we can always make some stuff fail, but very, very, very close to that, where you're going to be giving everybody everything they need. And like the question we got before, what this is really strong for is this is not just the use case that we're sharing right now. This is something that a lot of people have come to us and asked for, which is killer, because they want their tickets, their mundane things to be automated, right? And gone. But think bigger, like what we talked about earlier in the slides when we said self-service QBRs or self-service training or self-service things. What we've developed is not a cool ticketing add-on. It's a straight up engine that goes everywhere. So just like you're seeing the possibilities here, again, don't just do automation for automation's sake, do innovations, right? So think about what happens if you've seen our planner, generating opportunities there, or the training and being able to integrate other sources of knowledge within one platform. That's the automation that you want to do to bring it all together. And again, that's going to take you from some automation to full on orchestration. So this is just a snippet of it. And it's something that, again, just doing these little tests with these couple different variations, like you'd be surprised, or maybe not considering our audience, what you can do with just opportunities, webhooks, and emails, and even RMM downloads, right? By being able to gate all that stuff, you are giving some serious power, but still gated, right? So you still have full control over it to the clients to take care of those super mundane tasks. And I think that even in our own testing, we're like, yeah, this is going to save a bunch of time and it's going to make clients really happy. Again, giving people that Amazon experience is pretty much what they've always wanted. And now they can. This is what's going to give them that power, straight up.
Yeah, this is one of the most exciting things we've delivered in a long time. And it's taken, a few MSPs might have heard me talk about this even a year ago, as we've tried to bring it to life. It's gone through a lot of iterations. And we still continue to work with like PIA and Roost and other RPAs out there. What we see is the ability to create a different type of engine, more of an orchestration engine, even though it's called automations. At the end of the day, its job is to try to pull together all these disparate pieces together. And so as we open up the platform, we'll open up access into this, so let other vendors plug into it. We'll work to basically integrate with what we have already, and then to continue to evolve this over time. But I think this is one of those features that will trigger about, another 1,000 feature requests, because it is such a powerful way to serve things going forward.
Yeah, so when I first heard about this, I was immediately, for those of you who are Spectrum customers, I was immediately put in mind of, you used to have to call a cable company all the time and say, my box isn't working, can you have my box? And So that required a phone call, a wait on hold, talk to somebody, sometimes at 2 a.m, whatever. It was just a pain in the butt. Now I have an app. I can go in, hit reset the box, and it's off to the races and done. And that is kind of the end user customer experience that I think we are enabling within every MSP. If it's something simple, but something only you have access to, and you can leverage cloud radio to give your customer the ability to self-service something that they don't want to wait in line for anyway, then that's the true power of this operation and this automation. Jeff, we could probably move the slide forward, unless Ricky, you got anything you want to add on this?
No, for now.
Because this is where client self-service, up to this point, cloud radio has given you lots of tools that make it simple for you to deliver value, collect information, communicate, et cetera, and so on. Now we're taking the next level step to allow you to differentiate your deliverable from everybody else's deliverable, because you may have customers who just absolutely need to launch a backup all the time or solve some other problem. And it's a problem that they're calling you pretty much every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday about. And if you can automate that so they can just push a button and solve the problem for themselves, you've empowered them and you've freed yourself from tasks that keep you from working on your business and keep you completely focused in your business because you're working on somebody else's business. I think that's probably the most powerful thing that these guys have come up with in a very long time. I'm so excited to spend time talking about it at events, being out there in the world and announcing it. What about you guys? Any feedback, anything out there in the audience? Feel free to throw anything in the Q&A if you have questions. But with that, let's move forward to the Q&A section of this. Guys, if you have any questions, jump in here, ask whatever you want to ask. Ricky, what are some of the, I'll get it started. What are some of the really cool?
Well, wait. I want to interject here before we move on to the Q&A.
So I'll talk for 20 minutes. Help me go.
Wait. So we talk about client self-service, and this automations engine that's been put together is such a foundational piece of the product that'll let us do so many cool new things, right? But one of the things that I think is overlooked sometimes is how much we do today, right? And how much we've continued to evolve the product over the last 5 years. And Ted, you brought it up really well the other day with something you called Mr. Self-Service, right? It's like if you hired a new tech, right? And let's just think about that new tech's resume, for example, or what his skills are, right? And you said, look, I'll tell you what, I'm going to apply for a job with your MSP, and I'm going to answer all the routine ticket status questions for you. I'm going to make sure every ticket that comes in is pre-triaged. I'm going to make sure every ticket has the right approvals. I'm going to make sure that I've answered all the questions related to 365 usage. If anything comes in negative, like in a CSAT, I'm going to be sure and let people know. I'm going to sync up with 365 every night. I'm going to, basically make sure all the contacts in the PSA match have the right names. I'm going to update the marketing list. I'm going to conduct training classes. I'm going to administer tests. I'm going to keep documentation organized. I'm going to prepare all the QBRs, whether you give them or not. I'm going to prepare them every night for you just so you'll have them ready. I'm going to answer common problems with step-by-step instructions. I'm going to monitor policies. I'm going to remind clients, by the way, every day what the MSP is there for. I'm going to direct users to the right questions. I'm going to direct them to the right applications. I'm going to create routine quotes. And oh, by the way, I'm going to work 24/7, 365 to take care of all of this mundane stuff, right? And, so he shows up at the door with this resume and he goes, okay, so this is interesting. What is your cost? He goes, well, it's $1 a day. Like, okay, this is what you get with Cloud Radio today, right? And I think that's one of the things is you look at this power of automation and you look at the power of self-service, and we've already married that with Cloud Radio to a large extent with the features we have already. And again, we're talking for $1 a day. You're getting a tech that takes care of that routine stuff so you can work on the fun stuff, the more challenging stuff, the stuff that you hopefully wanted to become an MSP to solve. Not just yes, that ticket's still open. We will let you know when it's closed, right? So, so again, we've done a lot of work on self-service and automations. We've got really new stuff, really powerful stuff coming. And now we can talk about Q&A because I'm through venting. So
you're absolutely right. We couldn't have gotten through this correctly without answering that question, without talking about that. I said Mr. Self-Service the other day, and I didn't even know what I was saying because Jeff has put an entirely a broader, more capable spin. But like telling everybody in your organization, no longer do they have to do the mundane tasks. Those are going to be handled by a magical somebody else, not magical, but automated somebody else. That's just incredibly powerful. We do have questions now, Jeff. If you want to move forward to the Q&A section, which is really just having a slide that says Q&A. But Ricky, I'm going to aim the first one at you. What areas in cloud radio can you apply automations?
Great question. The goal is all of them. Right now, the prototypes that we have that are functioning and like you saw in the screenshots, that's real. That's going to be service requests and problem reports. So we're starting with ticketing because that's the largest demand that we get by far. The way those are invoked, again, very basic technicality here, is that we thought the simplest way to throw those in would be like a question type. So just like you can say multiple choice or free form text box, whatever, we're literally saying throw a solution in there. And then the way that we designed it, I think, is pretty slick, which what happens is whenever you throw that stuff in there, if you have an automation that's simple, create an opportunity, don't ask them anything, just do it, fine. If you have stuff that's variable, so for example, if you want them to be able to be the ones that choose the email, or they need to tell you, I don't know, what program they want, that question will dynamically pop up. So that's super cool stuff there. That type of process needs to be thought out. But again, the plans for the next steps are going to be the planner. We get a lot of requests for planner stuff. So revamping our planner to not just be, again, we've thought about the planner for the longest time. People have asked for multiple years and this and that, but really what the planner needs is just an engine to ride on, right? So this is what's going to power that. So planner's the next big one. Other ones that we've sketched out and have ideas for are, again, our documentation, our assessment tool, like really anything that requires any kind of input should use those automations, even down to our compliance policies. So those policies are pretty killer, but if they have the power to trigger more and more things to fix themselves, that would be even better. So those are kind of some of the general directions. Can customers access this? Yes and no, right? They can access it. And this is something else that's been very, very contentious is the wrong term, but like how much power is too much power? So we've thought really long and hard, and this, again, has not been possible from the get-go from our own journey because it's taken us a bunch of building blocks to get to here. Namely, what I'm talking about is like security roles. So it's like being able to say like, who gets what access to what tab, why does it get access to that tab, and what are the variations, all that other stuff. So when I say yes, but the customer access to this is basically saying like, you are the one that builds those flows. How you deploy those flows is up to you. Like I just said with the ticket, like you can basically say, I want them to be able to input this. Absolutely not. Don't let them. The biggest danger case here is, which probably is the biggest opportunity, is think about the RMM triggers. So if I want to be able to, and we were talking about this in a super simple use case, being able to say like, okay, here's a script that I want your RMM to pick up and deliver and deploy and actually execute to reset your printer spooler. Relatively innocent. Okay, but I want to be the one that says this button resets the printer spooler as the MSP. I'm certainly not giving an end user the power to call whatever they want from my RMM. So that dynamic, that kind of cloud radio already has that structure to say you control and then you decide what they get will stay consistent here. So very careful about that. That's really why a lot of this stuff has taken as long as it is, because if you go down the logic tree, this is a logic forest of just all these different potential decisions and how to do it. But I promise you, we have sketched this out and I've gotten beat up mentally for this. So taking that hit for you. Don't worry.
That's exactly what we do, is take the hit for the MSP so you guys can be more effective. Listen, I want to thank everybody. I think we're running towards the end of our time. Thank you, Joe. We think it's exciting too. Appreciate that. But guys, thank you for joining us. If you are interested, Jeff, let's move the screen forward.
Yeah.
There we go. If you're interested in scheduling, oh, wait. Okay.
I may have answered. I just realized. Kent, can you throw me a quick message saying if you saw my response? I think I answered to hosts and panelists instead of everybody.
I definitely saw your answer, Ricky. So yes, and I'm a hosted panelist, so I'm not sure if that helps. Anyway, if you guys are interested in seeing more of this, feel free to just hit this link and schedule a demo. One of our team will reach out to you and get you all scheduled up, or maybe it'll just happen in an automated fashion, depending on how you ask the question. But in the meantime, it's incredibly easy. Let's move forward. Now, there we go. Jeff and I have fun all the time doing this stuff.
No.
If you guys are interested in downloading the new ebook, I don't know how new it is. I am willing to bet at least two or three people in the audience have this book on their dresser somewhere. I know I do. And I
no, this is a different one. This isn't our regular book. This is the Guide to Self-Service.
Wow. See,
this is a new ebook.
Now I've learned something today. This is awesome. We have a new book, and you guys should download it. Scan the QR code, promise it's safe, and download the new ebook and learn about the self-service side of the business, which is what we've been talking about, really the tools that support self-service and driving that capability and adding free staff and so on and so forth all day long. Any last thoughts? Ricky, I'll start with you. Even though you're typing, no last thoughts.
I'm just answering some quick technical stuff here and there, but nope.
Awesome. Thank you, Ricky. Really appreciate it today. Jeff, you want to bring us home?
I want to thank everybody for sticking with us through this presentation. Again, we think that, again, obviously with automations powered with self-service, that again, everything is doable, and scalability gets to be very interesting. The MSP world has always been evolving. It always will be evolving. And I certainly appreciate the partners and the interest we've seen in helping this industry move forward. So thanks for attending, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, guys, and I'll just add, the best businesses in the world today are focused on these things. IBM is focused on it, Delta is focused on it, Amazon is focused on it, and a host of others are focused on it. You want to be, even if you don't do it at the scale that those guys do, you want to be focused on the things that are driving big and successful businesses today. And we want to be a part of that and help you get there. So thank you all very much for coming today. It's just been an absolute joy doing this. And please tune back in. We're going to be doing more of these. Ricky talked about our orchestration efforts. Jeff talked about how we're working with additional vendors. We're going to be bringing them into the mix. We're going to be telling you more about what we think are the opportunities to add automation and self-service to your business. And if you found this valuable, please come back, because we'd love to talk more. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.
Guys.